For my digital media production project, I've decided to use the app Formatives to create a quiz. Formatives is basically an application which I can create educational quizzes specifically for classes. So to begin, to add a student in my classroom, because we can create classrooms in this app, you can either assign them a email and a password, or more easily, you can just give them a code where they can just enter the code, and then enter their names, and they will pop up in my classroom in history group 305 in this case. I'm now talking about the quiz I created. It's about the way of life and beliefs of Indigenous people in the 15th century in Quebec. I've decided to do this subject because, first of all, it's in the curriculum in grade 9 history. And secondly, I find the topic to be truly important, as many people, unfortunately, don't even know the traditions and culture of the Indigenous people and its history. So all throughout the quiz, I've created different format questions, such as multiple selections, multiple choice, true or false, short answer, free responses. I put images next to free responses, and I even put in show your work, which basically gives you a pen. And in this case, I decided to ask my students to draw typical Inuit settlements. I find like all these format questions give different they give different insights of their learning development, as free responses often show that the student quite understands the topic, even if, like, for example, what were the roles women had in Rwanda society, and write a paragraph containing 100 to 125 words explaining their roles, they would have to know to write. Like, they can't do just a quick Google search and find the answer, because there is more than one element in that answer. Also, I thought about people that learn better by hearing, being auditive understanders. They understand only by mostly by audio. Therefore, I added layers of audio because they didn't have the robot that usually says the sentences and questions. I've decided to add my own voice with the audio feature that they had. So, for example, let me go on preview as student, because it looks much nicer, much more aesthetically pleasing. Like, for example, for the first question, here would be the question written, and the audio part of the question would be here. I'm just press on it and show you. Nations are part of the linguistic family of the Algonquins, the Wyandots, the Inus, the Inuits, the Micmac, or the Tionotati. As you see, I understood that there's people that I have privilege to understand just by reading, but some people actually need to listen to, as, for example, people with ADHD have more trouble focusing on the reading. As you can see, in these questions, I didn't make them too easy. For example, the first question, I put an answer choice as Inus and another one as Inuits, both sounding alike. A student might choose the wrong one. And it's not for me. I don't want to be mean. I just want them to be accurate with their understandings. Another feature I want to show you is how you can see what the students are answering on the spot. For example, Lily O here wrote this right now. A feature that I can show you right now is how I can actually send feedback to my students. For example, I can write, please be more precise with your answer. As you can see, Lily is adding to it because she saw my feedback. And as you can also realize is that I can literally see what she is writing at this very instance. I'll just show you how the image, like the drawings, would look like when I correct. The long responses would look like something like this. The other ones, like true or false or the multiple selections, this app can actually correct for itself as only if you tell them to. You can also put a choice of you wanting to correct everything if you're more old-fashioned. But if we go here on totals, we can see all of the students that took the test. Red would mean less than 50%. Yellow would mean around 50 to 70%. And green would be anything over 70%. As you can realize, there are gray squares too, rectangles too. That is because those are the free response questions that I didn't correct yet. As you can see, Lily replied to me and said, just added more info, thanks. This shows how the students can also give feedback to me, talk to me, ask me questions if ever needed. Just to see how grading works, if I find this to be 100%, I would just bring the circle to a green. If not, I would put it in the middle or in the red. This would look when this is how it looks when it's all corrected. One thing that I like about this format is that I can see the questions that my students had more trouble with. Like question number 6, as you can see, 2 of my fellow students had sadly the incorrect answer. Therefore, I can just go here and see what the answer is and what the question is. I can see the percentage of students that had the correct answer. And this actually helps not only me for my correction, but also the students, as I can bring those topics into class and talk more extensively about it for my students to grasp the concept or why, or the whys or the how. I can just explain more about Indigenous society. Another cool feature is I can hide names while correcting, because I know some teachers might have biases while correcting. So with the names hidden, I can correct them without thinking about my unconscious bias that I might have. It is also very useful as I can show the class. I can also show the class the averages, the questions they had wrong, like to them, without being invasive of their privacy. A very good feature that this application has is I can see when someone might have cheated. For example, let me find it here. We can see that Lean Rashid cheated, as the application shows me that she included copy and pasted parts. Therefore, the teacher can choose there if they want to give them a 0 to this question only or a 0 to the whole quiz. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I'd use this for exercise and assignments more than quizzes, because I wouldn't expect my students to bring this at home, as I know some might not be privileged to have internet at home or not have safe learning environments, as they might live with a lot of family members. There would always be sound, noises, and I would personally do it in class, assuming that the school that I work for has iPads or a computer lab or something from those lines. One last thing I would want to show you is how I can track my students' record. For example, I know this doesn't look that impressive now because there's only one test, but as we have more quizzes, assignments, preparations for tests, there would be more grades here, and they would give me the average of what the student had in total. And this is very interesting, as we can see if the student has a positive growth or a negative growth. So we'll see if the students possibly can better not. And it's not to shame them or anything. It's mostly for me to know who needs help, and I'll be there to give them a hand and to either help them with their homeworks or help them with assignments. Be more attentive to them while in class. Ask them more questions while in class. And yeah, honestly, all these teacher features that this application has at the end of the day helps the students too, because at the end of the day, it helps the teacher help the students. And yeah, thank you very much for listening to this video.